Ever since P.P. Slaggart released his album, The Ramblings of Dangerous Dan McDaid, there's been much speculation about exactly who was Dan McDaid. This film aims to explore Dan McDaid, the man, the myth and the legend. Now, his story ends up here in Bundoran, but where did it begin? Daniel George McDaid was born and grew up in rural County Tyrone, knowing very little about his family background. His mother rarely spoke of his father and never mentioned any grandparents or other extended family. All Dan really knew about her was that she came from a small farm in County Tyrone, and then, as a young woman, went into service, working for a wealthy landlord farmer. The farmer seduced Dan's mother, and he was born out of wedlock. Dan's early years were spent living in the relative comfort of the landlord's grand and opulent house. However, these carefree and happy days came to a sudden end when, at the age of 5, Dan and his mother were suddenly cast out by the landlord to fend for themselves. Dan's world would never be the same again.
Here's a wee bit of food for your journey.
Let's go out now and see if there's any outside.
Here, put this over your shoulder. That's a good boy. Hey, good boy. That's it.
Let's go and see if there's any outside.
I was born in the hay barn in the County Tyrone, to an unwedded mother cast out all alone by her cruel, heartless landlord she would not obey. He was my father, I'm sorry to say. Well, she woke up that skunk with her screams of pain, but all he would offer was a look after stay. Then he picked me up and said, "This bastard's dead." I took my first breath and I pissed on his head. 'Cause you never give up and you never give in. You fight to the last, you fight till you win. For how many years, nobody knows. I'm a Jap on an island, you're my Tokyo Rose. 'Cause you never give up and you never give in. You fight to the last, you fight till you win. For how many years, nobody knows. I'm a Jap on an island, you're my Tokyo rose. Well, my mother, she died when I was 13. I lost my best friend, my teacher, my queen. Though she was not fit to be out on that road, she was not born to carry no load. Well, I buried her deep in a disused graveyard, where the Roman church had shown disregard. Then I prayed to St. Patrick, 'cause he'd understand a poor ragged boy all alone in his land. Swore I'd never give up and I'd never give in. I'd fight to the last, I'd fight till I'd win. For how many years, nobody knows. I'm a Jap on an island, you're my Tokyo.
Sitting here tonight talking to P.P. Slaggart about his best-selling CD, The Ramblings of Dangerous Dan McDaid. A very diverse and eclectic, to say the least, mixture of songs. Paul, could you remind us again exactly where these songs came from?
I think it was 2004. Got a knock at the door. A lady presented herself with a shoebox full of recording, old audio tape recording. She asked me to listen to them and give an opinion as to what I thought of them. She said it was by a songwriter called Dangerous Dan McDaid, who she had previously had a relationship with. I said, sure, leave them with me and I'll get back to you. She left the phone number. So, went for a week or two, but I started listening to this and come across this crazy man. What sort of songs are these? The man sounded like he was in a caravan somewhere in a tin box, shouting and roaring. And
there was a wild colonial boy, Jack Dugan was his name. He was born and reared in Ireland in a place called Castlemaine. He was his father's only son, his mother's pride and joy. And
banging tunes, all the tunes. Became fascinated by the stories that have been told and the events in this character's life. So then I said to myself, well, I'm going to go and get them professionally recorded with a studio in Sligo. Met with James Blennerhassett and we went through the songs and subsequently recorded them. Yeah, okay.
Way up north in Old Tyrone, I got a rusty old shack I call my own. 25 acres of bog in a broken down barn. Just go down the road, but not too far. Just beside a burnt out car, you'll see a sign for Cannibal Farm. Well, my uncle, he gave me this old place just before he blasted off to space, messing with some sweaty dynamite. Well, there was no grass and there was no hay, and the flowers didn't bloom in May, 'cause the cement works had turned the whole place white. I breed the chickens with the dogs, and the dogs with the hogs, and the cows eat the sows, and the sows eat the frogs. There's a big crocodile living up in the barn, and the horse, he's a-hopping like a kangaroo, and the donkey in the field goes cock-a-doodle-doo. That's what you get on Cannibal Farm. I had a bow-legged piggy with a head like a dog, and a bow-legged chickie with a head like a frog, and a freak with a beak called a dicky-dang-dong. There was 500,000 seagulls, thought it was a dump, a three-legged camel that didn't have a hump, and the rats and the cats and the bats fighting all night long. I from the government came one day. He didn't have a whole lot much to say. He just wrote out a note. He said, I'm closing down your farm. Well, the day he came, I never saw him again, but I found his shoes up along the lane, and oh, hell of a smell coming out of the barn. I breed the chickens with the dogs, and the dogs with the hogs, and the cows eat the sows, and the sows eat the frogs. There's a big crocodile living up in the barn, and the horse he's a hopping like a kangaroo, and the donkey in the field goes cock-a-doodle-doo. That's what you get on Cannibal Farm. Hey, Striking Thatcher, you still on strike? What do you think about them coming down here trying to close down my farm? Well, I guess it's just a sign of the times. Next thing you know, they'll be closing down the hospital.
I went through the songs and subsequently recorded them and released them in 2006.
Knowing your reputation as a kind of left field, dare I say it, off the wall performer, and listening to the songs and Dangers, Dan, I can see then that they definitely do suit your style. But how much do you think the songs is Dan just building up a myth about himself and about his past life, really?
Well, as a songwriter, you've got to say something that's interesting. You've got to grab people's attention. So you have to come up with and think of stories and plots and things that's going to keep people's attention. So I think that's the method of songwriting that Dan employed. Rather than the lyrical content, he went out for a shock factor. He liked to big himself up. He liked to have a reputation in the community he lived in.
I'll kill that woman.
I also thought he was a witty man in his own right. Some of the ramblings you could hear in the background in some of the songs. It wasn't all just songs. I mean, they had some poetry. You could hear him shouting and roaring to neighbours and stuff like that. He came across as a witty sort of madman, you know, a likeable character.
Yuri Mullen is a local journalist and historian. Yuri, you've listened to the CD, so tell me, Dangers, Dan McDaid, fact or fiction?
Well, first of all, Tony, can I say that almost everything I know about Dan McDaid I read from the CD cover, The Ramblings of Dangers McDaid by P.B. Slaggart. I've never met the man, I've never seen a picture of him, and I've never met anyone, I don't think I've met anyone who actually met him in person.
Oh, the high life is a stranger to me, and the good times I fear I'll never see are over. I am forced to be.
Dan travelled from town to town in search of work. With his wayward and insubordinate attitude to authority and all the rules that govern society, Dan rebelled against convention and opted for a life on the road. Dan had no means of supporting himself or earning money, so he turned to a life of crime. Stealing and burglary were to become his new professions. Dan was to travel around the country for the next 3 years, breaking into the homes of the rich and selling his ill-gotten gains on the black market.
Oh, it's lonely out here on this road at night, with no lover, no sweetheart or no wife. There's a cruel wind that's blowing from the west, and it's tearing through this old and tattered vest. Thank you, Miss O'Hare, for your lovely underwear, which you stole while hanging from a tree. Oh, they covered my bare ass while you were off at mass, just a praying for the likes of me. In a clearing lies a cold and hungry man, a decorated war hero called Dan, while the landlord lies upon his feather bed, just a farting now the pheasant he's been fed. Thank you, Lord of Slain, for the gold watch and the chain, them other little knickknacks you won't miss. Oh, as you scratch your head and think, why not pour yourself a drink from your whiskey decanter filled with piss.
Over the years, there have been emerging literature that does seem to suggest that Irish men fought for both sides during the Second World War. Yet McDaid was in fact a convict, is that right?
Well, that seems to be the proposition, that he went to Germany, got himself in some trouble, and ended up in prison, and was told either do hard time or join the army, and he chose the latter.
You are Dan McDaid. You have been charged and found guilty of the following crimes: theft, grievous bodily harm, assault with a deadly weapon, and black marketeering. You have subsequently been brought to this court for sentencing. Taking the nature and the gravity of your crime, I has no option but to give the maximum sentence this court can impose. I therefore sentence you to 4 years hard labour. However, through the generosity of our glorious Führer and this court, you have an option. You can enlist in the German army and fight for the country you have stole from, or 4 years hard labour. The choice is yours.
President, my client will be enlisting in the German army.
Ah, this is good. Yeah. Captain is at your disposal.
Thank you, my president. Takes the prisoner to transportation.
Move! The Eastern Front awaits you.
Call the next prisoner!
What I have done is check out the timeline for some of the things he alleges he's done, some of the places he alleges he's been, and that certainly they seem to be correct, and that he seems to have been in the right place at the right time for some of these things to have happened.
Yes, and well, in fact, one of his songs does mention the German attack on France through the forest of Verdun, which was the method that the Nazis used to overcome France. But that's readily available knowledge for anybody who has done history at school.
I mean, this information won't be commonly available. Probably any GCSE student of modern history would encounter that the Germans did invade through the forest of Ardennes. they bypassed, if you like, the Maginot Line. The French had placed all their faith in this defensive line, which Germans simply went around it, and that, of course, led ultimately to the defeat of France. There's nothing special about his claims in that you couldn't pick up in a history book.
Less well known is de Gaulle's attempt to seize the initiative at Arras.
That is an interesting one because that wouldn't be as commonly accessible, if you like, from just a casual glance at the history book. It was one of the very few high points in the French campaign. De Gaulle certainly had some modest success before the Luftwaffe swooped in and finally forced him to retreat. Certainly you wouldn't find that in the GCSE history book.
Well, the forest of Ardennes, we took it with care. Then we ended right up on the banks of the Meuse, where we shelled them poor Frenchies till they got up and ran. Then we busted clean through to the plains of Sedan with our tanks and the Luftwaffe flying and our enemies dying by the gun and grenade. We drove them before us, just singing this chorus. Raus, 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 we're the Panzer Brigade.
His next claim was that he became a tank driver, and there would be, certainly you'd have to be very dubious about that claim, I think, given that, you know, in Hitler's army, it would really have been the what he would have called the Herren folk, who would have been in the armoured divisions, and certainly tank commanders and so on and so forth would have been something like social elites. McDaid, if he was recruited as a felon, the likelihood is they would have been in a penal battalion, and they would have been used to do all the dirtiest jobs in the army, including near suicidal frontal assaults on the enemy, clearing minefields and so on and so forth.
And our enemies dying by the gun and grenade. We drove them before us, just singing this chorus. Raus, 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 we're the Panzer Brigade.
Wenn du Geburtstag hast, bin ich bei dir zu Gast. Die ganze Nacht. Johnny, ich träum so viel von dir. Ach komm doch mal zu mir, nachmittags um 3:30.
Wunderbar.
Johnny, wenn du Geburtstag hast und mich deiner
Scheiße! Was im Fick? Your orders. Proceed to support the German offensive at the forest of Ardennes as part of the Operation Watch on the Rhine. I have intelligence that the Allied forces plan to sweep through the Ardennes and push into Germany. You are to proceed to the Eisenhower Ridge located here and reinforce this line here. You move out immediately. Yes, sir. Heil Hitler! Heil!
What did he say?
Eh?
What's he on about?
We're moving out. We're going to fight the British and we are going to kick their asses back to Dunkirk.
Wait till they get a load of me. I'll send them packing with their tails between their legs.
Dangerous Dan McDaid, no?
They're fighting Irish. They fight their mother. They fight their father. And they fight their grandmother.
Their grandmother! Good one. Ah. Octon Dan McDaid.
Octon Dan McDaid.
Corporal Schmidt, come. Get a photo of us with Dangerous Dan McDaid. You, come.
Over by the tank. Smile for the fatherland.
Was the Fuhrer? Now, break camp and move out.
Because I am dangerous, Dan McDaid.
Another of McDaid's claims is to have been at the Battle of Stalingrad. And I know that is something that you take particular issue with.
Well, indeed, Stalingrad, as you know, became the tomb of the 6th Army and about half of the 4th Panzer Army. Some 1 million Germans died at Stalingrad. Of those who survived, 100,000 went into captivity, and of that 100,000, only 5,000 ever got back to Germany alive. Now, they weren't even released to Germany until the late 1950s. So the first thing is that it was highly improbable that he would have survived it. The second thing is, if he's not being released from the Soviet Union until the late 1950s, I think that conflicts with some of his other timelines, when, for example, he may have been mining in Mexico or carousing in the United States. But I mean, the Battle of Stalingrad is a very attractive thing for a macho person to be associated with, I think. So maybe he thought it wouldn't hurt his narrative.
Yeah. Always drink a legend.
Well, that's what they say, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
How much of it then is Dan's original ideas, and much of it is interspersed with your famous cynicism?
Well, I would say Dan was a lot more cynical man than me. Some of the language was absolutely atrocious. I mean, I've actually cleaned some of it up, Tony, reworked some of it, but I would say that the general ideas are Dan McDaid's, and I would take no credit for any of the writing, bar some touch up and tidy.
Some of them are quite provocative, and one in particular stands out, is She'll Never Tell Me, which seems to indicate that Dan has actually murdered one of his past lovers.
I hate you.
I mean, you know, this is, how much of reality can we read into that, do you think?
I've played that song a few times and I've seen shock on people's faces, but I think he goes for that shock. I think it's also very, if you suspend belief, I said to some fella once, I said, is it not anybody ever thought of killing their wives at one stage in their lives? And they sort of agreed and laughed in that context. You know, there are times. So I think it's purely satirical. I think it's too much levity to be true. I think.
I'll kill that woman. Well, do you think then he's used a lot of artistic licenses in the songs that he has written, because he sings about fighting for the Germans in France and Russia? So do you think is that kind of, again, just a myth that he's built about himself just to give him a bit of extra kudos, or is it true?
Well, he's of the right age, the right vintage. He'd been out of the country for many years. He travelled widely, so I don't know. There's a possibility he had been in the Wehrmacht. I mean, there are stories of Hitler's Irishmen. I think there's a book called Hitler's Irishmen, which outlines various Irishmen fighting in various regiments. So, yeah, it's a possibility.
Pictures of crosses, they hint at the losses of a generation dying fast. Then I saw your ghost in the picture post. It said you were the last man to die in 45, on the last day of the war. And how your child bride, she broke down and cried, saying, what was it all for? Now the rich and the needy, the poor and the greedy, and the patriot fool shed a tear once a year for you. I was battered and bruised, I was tattered and used. I didn't want to fight anymore. When you found me lying there wounded in the last stars off the war. Hey, you laughed and you said I'd be the last man dead, and you'd be the one doing the killing.
Dan instinctively knew that the war was reaching its final stages and that he was on the losing side. He wrote about stumbling upon a dead American soldier. So given his attitude for survival and total opportunism, he stripped the soldier of his uniform.
Shed a tear once a year for you. I didn't beg for my life, but I asked for a cigarette. And as you knelt down on the cold ground, somebody rammed a blade in your neck. Oh, your eyes, they were bulging while your brain was indulging in some kind of dance of death. You were gurgling blood on the stinking mud while gasping for breath.
He used all his cunning and sense of survival to make his way through Allied lines. His contacts in the Nazi Party helped him to gain safe passage to Portugal. From there he escaped to Mexico, thus starting a new chapter in Dan's life.
But I'll never forget the day that we met. I'm sure you remember me too, 'cause I'm the man that killed you.
Dan wrote very little about his time in Mexico, other than he got rich quick and ended up in a Mexican jail. Fearing that he would spend the rest of his life in this prison, where life expectancy was low, Dan hatched a plan with the help of his extensive network of criminal friends on the outside to break out of prison. A notorious character who was known as Baldy Frank was to play a leading role in breaking Dan out of prison.
Hanging from a nail, but it's better than lying on the floor. The six in the bed and Pedro's dead. I warned him not to snore. The warder's got a stick, 1 inch thick. He beats me day and night. He feeds me cruel and he treats me gruel, but hey, I'll be alright.
Hey.
I think your friend's going to be sleeping for a very long time, huh?
Oh, take me down from these chains! Please let me down! Do you hear me? I heard you Toro for your magic! Ah! 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 Ah!
Dreading this plan would fail, Dan's counter plan was to grass and Baldy Frank by telling the governor of the planned jailbreak in return for his freedom.
Chief, he wants to speak with you.
This way?
Come in.
Prisoner, sir. Dan McDaid.
Ah, so you are Dan McDaid. So tell me, what is this important information you have that will save my prison?
Well, I must get assurance first that if I give you this information, you know, you'll free me.
Free you? He wants me to free him!
Yeah, well, let's just say the information I have could, you know, save your prison from being blown to kingdom come.
Okay. If this information you have proves to be true, and you can verify that there is a threat to this prison, then I will set you free. Now, what is this information?
Well, about 8:30 p.m. tonight, a guy named Baldy Frank, he's gonna come blowing through your prison wall, shoot the place up, and, you know, set the old prisoner free.
I have heard of this Baldy Frank. Very high up on the wanted list. How did you find out about this break-in?
My cellmate Pedro, he talks in his sleep, he sort of spilled the beans.
Bring me this Pedro.
Yeah. He's sort of dead.
How convenient for you, senor. So, where can we find this Baldy Frank?
Say right now, El Chino's Cantina. You'll probably find his car outside and, you know, a bit full of dynamite.
Take 2 men to El Chino's Cantina. Bring me Baldy Frank. If what you say proves to be true, El Gringo, you will be a free man. Now take him away. Baldy Frank.
Sleep well, Gringo. Sweet dreams. Because when you wake, your worst nightmare will begin.
Dirty sons of me, let me out of here! You hear me? Let me out of here! When I get out of here, I'm going to kick all your asses. I kill your mama and your papa. Kill your chickens, your chicken farmers.
Oh, here, little piggy. Huh?
Sons of donkeys, let me out of here!
I told you, Dan, I am a man of my word. I said you'd be a free man, and here you are in the Hotel Grand, drinking the finest champagne. Tell me, Dan, what's it like to be a free man?
Well, I propose a toast. To Baldy Frank.
To Baldy Frank?
There's little people in little boxes asking me my name. what the hell I'm doing here, just why on earth I came. What's my age and what's my date? What's the time, why am I late? It seems there's only one thing left to do. I'm gonna live like the Indians do. I'll sail the rivers in my canoe, and I'll roll the plains, and I'll attack the trains. I'm gonna live like the Indians.
On his release from jail, Dan crossed the border into the USA. He went back to the nomadic lifestyle he had as a young boy in Ireland. Dan was to travel from state to state over the next 30 years, keeping one step in front of the law. This period in his life was very destructive. His brain was hardwired to believe that the only way he could survive was through crime and being tough. There was no room for sentiment or kindness, as Dan thought these were weaknesses he could do well without. The motto of the Wehrmacht, which was drummed into him, still rang in his ears. The highest virtue of a Wehrmacht soldier is aggressive courage. This demands toughness and resolve. Cowardice is a disgrace. Hesitation is unsoldierlike. At the age of 58, Dan decided to return to his native Ireland.
They say they're gonna lock me up and throw away the key, but my girl says she loves me and she'll always stay with me. Well, I wonder how she's gonna like it living up a tree. I'm gonna live like the
Tyrone was a very different place now than the one he left. The troubles were at their peak. The daily news was filled with bombings and killings as Northern Ireland fell further into the abyss of violence and destruction. As far as Dan was concerned, the North had become a police state, making it very difficult for petty crooks like him to operate without being detected by the security forces. Well, he certainly seems to revel in that reputation of trouble, strife. I mean, apart from his wartime exploits, he also sings about other dangerous activities much closer to home, like stealing a car from Knocknamoe or getting shot at by the British Army. Would you think that would have any semblance of truth? Or?
That to me sounds very, very real, because at the start of the troubles, you're talking about 1973, I mean, you had makeshift checkpoints going up all over the border. There weren't the big concrete structures that grew up through time, possibly just a few soldiers standing at a stop sign. So man steals a car, he could be confronted by this and just drives on and gets shot at. Might even been reported in the paper, the soldiers might have been too embarrassed to say, the hell, I'm not telling you about that. But I think he's a small fish. I mean, if I'd been running about today in the peaceful times, you would have noticed him. But I don't think you would have noticed him in the times we lived through.
How's it going, boss? Catching many terrorists?
Have you got your license?
Should have. There you go.
Who's your passenger?
Oh, he's a big American, that boy. Tell that nice man your name.
The name is Dan McDaid.
Right, on you go.
Thank you.
Does them guys stop like that all the time?
Ah, so they never leave the roads. It's hard for decent crooks like us to move stolen goods around.
Ah, to hell with that. I'm out of here.
This song is dedicated to a man I never got to know, because I stole his car from the hotel in Knocknamoe. I was thumbing through my town, and it was 1973, when I saw your red BM and you'd kindly left the key. Well, I played your buck on tip, and I certainly agree. It takes people like you to make people like me. I was heading for the border with no chance of getting through. Just a renegade in a stolen BMW. When I took her up to 60, I was feeling so alive. Took me back to Paris when I was 25. Then I pushed her on to 80, 'cause I was running late. I was doing 95 while I was turning 58. I was 2 miles from the border when the lights give out. Then the intercom flashed on and I heard somebody shout.
Open fire! You missed! You blind twat!
Yeah, and how many shots have you fired?
Them Ivans have us zeroed. You gotta pull us out of here. We gotta fight our way back through and get back to the rear. Well, Heinz was hit with shrapnel. He was bleeding pretty bad. I was driving like a madman with all the skill I had. Oh, we thundered through that village, hitting all them barricades, while dodging all the shells and the anti-tank grenades. When I took her up to 60, I was feeling so alive. I was back on German soil, it was 1945. Then I pushed her on to 80, 'cause I was running late. I was doing 95 while I was turning 58. When I hit that border checkpoint, I was doing 95. And I don't know how the hell that I got through there alive. Because the windscreen came in first, then I felt the back tires burst. As the British Army, they opened fire. But I just kept her going till the engine started blowing. Then I left her and she's probably there still. Under 30 feet of water in a quarry where I brought her, with a stop sign embedded in the grill. And I thought about poor Heinzie and how he bled to death, while Smith was blown to smithereens by the RAF. And Steiner died defending at the Brandenburg Gate. I was feeling lucky to be turning 58.
Dan spent the next 12 years of his life travelling from town to town, city to city in Ireland, making his living from a range of criminal activities, from black marketeering and car theft to racketeering. At the age of 68, he arrived at the seaside town of Bundoran, where he did lay down some roots and got gainful employment as a seasonal worker in a fairground.
I think he's a small fish. I mean, if I'd been running about today in the peaceful times, you would have noticed him. but I don't think you would have noticed them in the times we lived through.
And then there's the flip side to all this violence and mayhem. He does come across in some of his songs to have a much more placid, a much more tender side, especially when he's singing about his mother, or Marianne, or Little Dan, or even Tokyo Rose. I mean, again, you know, this seems to be a flip side to his other existence. And do you think then that he, at the heart of Dan, was a sensitive man just dealing with a violent and troubled past?
I agree with you. I mean, he had a great love for his mother. He was orphaned at a young age. Tokyo Rose was the love of his life he lost in America. His new relationship with Marianne and the subsequent birth of his child, young Dan, mellowed the man out and learned from his mistakes. Yeah, I think he was a man of humanity at the back of it.
It was during this time that he met Marianne, a woman who was much younger than him. Marianne was somewhat naive and was seduced by Dan's mysticism, charisma, and promise of adventure and travel.
You see that over there? That's America.
Will you take me there someday?
You stick with me, gal, and I'll show you the world.
Dan just built up this huge myth about himself, okay, with his, you know, his hard man image and all the rest of it. Have you ever actually met anybody who can say, yeah, I knew Dan, and that, yeah, that is right or that's wrong, or anybody can verify? Or
well, I spoke at length to Marianne, obviously, once I had listened to the tapes. I wanted to fill in some of the background from what she knew. Also, when the album was released, I was approached by a fella in the town here, Damien Kelly, D. Kelly, the horsey man. D was able to tell me that he had met him in 1985, 86, whilst he was working in Bundoran in the fairground. And he was able to attest that, yeah, this man had a reputation. He did say that he was the wild man he claimed to be. He saw various fights, even though he was in the 70s, he saw various fights and bars and disagreement. He definitely said he was a man who'd done a lot of bumming and blowing about his exploits, and he would look down his nose at other people.
Now, it's very difficult to find anyone who has first-hand knowledge of Dan McDaid. But one man who does claim to have known him is D. Kelly. I've come here to D's homestead to find out what kind of an insight he can give us to the surreptitious and perplexing character known as Dangerous Dan McDaid. Hey Dee, thanks very much for talking to us. Well Dee, is it true that you first met Dan McDaid while you were working in an amusement arcade in Bundoran?
That'd be true enough. I would have met Dan. I would have worked in the amusement arcade there in Bundoran in the mid-70s. I'd have been there. And Dan came in one day looking for a job, and he got a start. He was started there and then. He got the job.
So what kind of character was Dan?
Very charismatic man. I didn't know whether to believe him half time or not, but he would have told me tales of his past, Like supposedly he was in the German army, and he was locked up in a prison in Mexico, and he would have told me all these antics, the length and breadth of America, which I found it hard to believe him at times, you know, but he told his stories very convincingly to me, and it made me feel part of this man was real.
Right. So a teller of tall tales, but how would you describe him?
Dan would have been a very, very cold, hard type man, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He had a chip on his shoulder. You know, to me, I would have described Dan as a bit of a user. You know?
Mm-hmm.
He once told me a story that he left. He was going out with this young girl and had left her pregnant. But the way he talked about her, you know, you knew there was no love there. You know, Dan was just a drunk that cared about nobody.
Mary Ann's and Dan's relationship continued to flourish. She became pregnant, much to the condemnation of her parents, particularly her father. The disgrace was too much for her father to bear, and as a result, she was forced to leave home to live with McDaid in his ramshackle caravan. This was to prove to be a very trying time for the couple, as Dan continued to lead a lifestyle that was not conducive to a person who was about to be a father.
Stop making that racket. Don't you see I'm trying to record?
This place is a mess. It's a dump. I can't live like this anymore.
Then go home to your mother.
I can't go home. They've disowned me. You're horrible to me. I'm carrying your child. Does this mean nothing to you? Do you not care about this anymore?
You know who I am. You know what I'm like. Look, it's not that I don't care. I am what I am.
I wish I had never met you. You said things were going to change.
You go for a walk and come back when your hormones have calmed down.
You're horrible! You're mean. I hate you. I hate you. I wish I would have never met you.
Woman, do your head in. She'll never tell me that I'm not a man anymore. She'll never threaten me, she's gonna walk out the door. And she won't be laughing and calling me baldy and fat, 'cause I prayed that bitch out with the dog and the cat. She won't be going out dancing with friends anymore. Coming back in, stinking of gin after 4. And she won't be saying she stayed with a friend in a flat, 'cause I buried that woman out with the dog and the cat. She's lying with Toby and Tiddles, I buried her right in the middle, out in the garden where the grass is so green. I told her mum and her daddy, she ran away with a laddie who came to fix the washing machine. She won't be spending my money on jewelry and clothes, to visit my friends and look down her nose. And she won't be saying that we're going home and that's that, 'cause I buried that bitch out with the dog and the cat. She won't be spelling extensions to the front and the side. I cancelled the kitchen, I told them she'd die.
I sent back the curtains, the carpets, the bedding and the mat. When I prayed that bitch, heart was a dog and a cat. I had to tell the builder, I told him that I killed her. He laughed and said, oh sure I know what you mean. Then I told her brother and sister, I'm sorry that you just missed her. She went to Liverpool with the volleyball team. Hey, aren't I? I'll kill that woman.
The way he talked about her, you know, you knew there was no love there. You know, Dan was just a drunk that cared about nobody.
So do you remember the last time you saw him?
The last time I saw Dan, he would have been only there a month. He'd been only working in the arcade a month. But he would have more used it for buying and selling stolen goods. And he'd have been constantly sipping out of one of the wee whiskey flasks, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the boss, he was fed up with his antics, you know. He just sacked him. And I never saw him after that. But then, rumour had it that he was in hiding. He was in hiding. The young girl's father was out to kill for Dan leaving her pregnant.
There you go, Dan. Beautiful black porter, poured with love and care.
Aye.
Just the way it should be.
Unfortunately, with your skills and loving care is wasted on a glutton like me. Especially when I want to sink it down like a thirsty hog.
Hey, Dan, you hear the one about the redhead went away for a dirty weekend? When she come home, she said to her blonde sister about the great time she had and all, and the highlight being she slept with a Brazilian. The sister says, what? You slut. How many men's a Brazilian?
Good one. Yeah, have you seen Dan?
Right in the corner there.
Yeah, I've been looking at you.
What's the matter?
Mary Ann's father's looking at you. He's going to kill you. You're going with his youngest daughter and her bundle of and you're the dad.
Where is he?
He's going round all the pubs and he'll be here any time.
Calm down, Tommy. Sure. Life's too short to worry about such things.
I'm serious, Dan. He's on the warpath. He said he's going to do you damage.
It doesn't worry me.
Where's McDaid? Has anybody seen McDaid? No? Well, I can send you tell him I was looking for him and I'm going to kill him. He's got my young daughter in the family way and he's going to pay for disgracing her and for disgracing our family. I'm going to find him and I'm going to kill him. You tell him for me, he's a dead man.
Here. As well he didn't see you hiding there. The rage he was in, he don't know what I would have done to you.
Barney doesn't scare me. Maybe by his reactions, I take it that he's not going to the Swain's christening.
Here, if he gets a hout to you, you'll not be going to the christening either.
Well, here's the baby. If it's a boy, we'll call him Dan, and if it's a girl, we'll call her Danielle.
And what if it's twins?
If it's twins, you can call me a taxi, because I'm out of here.
There, Danny boy. That's the boy. There.
Well, here's to you, Danny boy. You know, Danny, I probably won't be around to watch you grow up. But like me, you'll have to toughen up at an early age. Because you know, Danny, it's a cruel old world out there. A lot of bad people. And they're going to walk all over you. But don't you let them. You hit, and hit them hard. And don't let them up again. Oh, there. You'll be okay.
Oh, Danny. That's a good boy. Oh, Danny. That's a good boy. What's that? Hey! You want to take a photograph of me and Danny boy here?
Oh, no problem.
Ah, good.
No problem. Where'd I get away? Check that. Right, what's the birdie? And a big smile. Perfect. What's his name?
I'm Dan McDaid, and this is Dan McDaid Jr.
Your son?
What about it?
Oh, no problem. Listen, where do you want the snaps left?
Just drop them off at the amusements up at the seaside.
No problem.
Okay.
Take care. See ya.
Thanks.
At the end of the story, as far as we know, then he has disappeared. Okay, he was living with Marianne in Bundoran, and he had a seemingly settled and fairly placid time compared to the rest of his life. Do you think he's really dead, or did he just get itchy feet again and wander off?
Well, back in 1986, I don't know about now, he's probably well dead by now, but back in 1986, as you say, he settled life, he's a young partner, is happy.
I hate you.
Do you think maybe it was just part of his kind of wandering lifestyle? He just thought, well, I've been here long enough, and he's wandered off somewhere else. Because he did seem to be quite settled with Marianne at that point, but then all of a sudden he disappears.
Yeah, well, the last song on the album is called Letter to Marianne. It's based on his last letter, which was found posted into the caravan, which seemed to indicate that he had left of his own volition. But the clues in the letter were pointing to foul play, and that's why it's an intriguing letter which was put into that song. So it's up for people, it's open to people's interpretation as to whether he left or he was taken out and killed and was given the opportunity to write this letter to throw people off the scent, but actually give away clues in the letter. It's very intriguing.
I'm going to find him, and I'm going to kill him. You tell him for me, he's a dead man.
So he did fit the character that he portrayed.
Okay, well, Dangerous Dan, a bit of a legend right to the end, Paul.
Rumour had it that he was in hiding. The young girl's father was out to kill for Dan leaving her pregnant. And he just seemed to vanish off the face of the earth, you know. That's the last time I seen him.
So he's the kind of boy that was always looking over his shoulder then?
He would have been always looking over his shoulder. Dan would have been that type of a man, all right.
When I get out of here, I'm going to kill you.
Well, Dee, again, thank you very much for talking to us.
Not at
It's been
all.
very informative. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
All right.
As young Daniel entered the world, his father became increasingly restless and unsettled. There seemed to be something or someone troubling him. Mary Ann said his behaviour was erratic at this time. His drinking got worse, leading to upheaval in the home and rows about Dan's inconsideration for his young partner and mother of his child. On the 19th of September 1986, Dan left the family home, telling Mary Ann that he was going with an associate to move some contraband. Neither Mary Ann nor Daniel ever saw him again. Very little is known about Dan's disappearance. Mary Ann, however, is convinced that he got into trouble with some of his compatriots and met a foul end. One thing's for sure. His disappearance, like the man himself, is an enigma. Many people will argue that Dan was a brutal, sadistic man who showed very little compassion and therefore was the master of his own destiny. Others will argue that he was merely the product of the environment in which he grew up. A brutal world where Dan believed that he had to fight every step of the way in order to survive. Never give up. Never give in, fight to the last, fight to win. These words from one of his songs perhaps best sum up the man known as Dangerous Dan McDaid. There's no evidence of Dan's birth. His mother never registered it, perhaps to save herself from the stigma of being an unmarried mother, or to save his father from the social disgrace. Likewise, there is no record of his death, as his body was never found. It's almost as if he never existed. In fact, you could call him the man who never was.
I took a job cutting up cows and grinding their bones in the mill, while the rich and the landed paraded around. Well, how do you think I did feel? The sign on the door of the kiln room floor said, "Death to all who enter here." Well, I was a man of 14 years, so I didn't show any fear. But I could have cried the way I was feeling inside. But I'm telling you, son, when there's nowhere to run, you try keeping your bones on this earth. You'll swallow your pride and you'll stand in a line and say you'll take less than your worth.
I'm working the night.
I'm off on Monday.
I'm working the night.
You have to do, right?
And we knew we were right. Best cabs.
Who's your passenger?
That's Frank Police. You're saying all along it was Dan McDaid again, but it's not.
You still the proper Marcus.
You'll swallow your pride and you'll stand in a line and say you'll take less than your word.
Now, the story begins here.
Tired of being hungry and tired of being poor. I was sick of being pushed around. So we told our lies and got alibis. Then we met in the outskirts of town. There was Wallace and Murphy and Anderson. There was Keeney and me, Danny McDaid. Held up the payroll on the day that the farmers got paid. Well,
bastards.
Put his hand on his gun, but I could tell he was afraid. Don't even try unless you wanna die, 'cause I'm a born killer, I said. And I could have cried the day that I got back my pride. 'Cause I'm coming, you son, when you got a gun, you're the master of this earth. You don't swallow no pride, you don't stand in no line, and you'll never take less than your worth.
Have you ever used a twin lens reflex?
Hey, Gringo, your mama, she looked like a donkey, yeah. The back end of a donkey. Yeah, back end of a donkey, yeah.
Put on your hat and coat and we'll go and see. Come on, that's a good boy.
It's not raining.
I know, but it's cold. It's cold outside. We've got a long journey. Come on. Come on, put on.
Coat on. You need a coat on.
It's cold outside.
I need a coat on. Now let's see if there's any outside.
Green is the land, surrounded by the blue, and white are the clouds floating over you, and orange is the sun of a summer's night. Red is the blood that you spill when you fight. Well, you built yourself a castle of misery and hate, with mighty walls of garden and a sentry at your gate. Well, you let injustice fester. You said, why should I care? You locked your doors and windows and found a killer in your chair. Well, I am that killer. I am the Red McDaid. From the hovels and the cabins, from the slums you made. And I have come to kill you and to take my revenge for the treatment of my mother, which I swore I'd avenge. You had yourself a banquet while we hungered outside, from the pillar to the post until my mother died. What care had you for us with your money and your land, with a law in your pocket and a Bible in your hand? Green is the land, surrounded by the blue, and white are the clouds floating over you, and orange is the sun and the summer's night. Red is the blood that we spill when we fight. But life has made me weary. I am no longer young, and I'm worn down from the misuse of the gun. I swore that when I killed you, that you would be the last. But the time for killing, it has long since passed. Green is the land, surrounded by the blue, and white are the clouds that go floating over you. Orange is the sun of a summer's night. Red is the blood that we spill when we fight. Green is the land, surrounded by the blue, and white are the clouds that go floating over you. Orange is the sun of a summer's night. Red is the blood that we spill when we fight. Green is the land, surrounded by the blue, and white are the clouds that go floating over you. Orange is the sun of a summer's night. Red is the blood that we spill when we fight.